I'm really excited to talk about this because as I was studying it and just doing lots of research, I just kept saying to myself, like, man, I wish I would have had this language like 10 years ago. It's just so impactful, so insightful and helpful. And I really believe if we lean into it, can be such a great tool for us, not only in our ministries here within Waymaker Church, but also our relationships, our families, other jobs that we might have outside of this sphere. I think having this language just is really going to help us all. I know that it is helping me. Like Tanner had mentioned a few weeks ago, you guys talked about worldview. And so just to give kind of a quick recap on that, we learned that worldviews are not just these simple philosophical statements, but they're frameworks that completely shape our reality. So whatever our worldview is how we navigate the world, life. It's how we choose what we want to eat in the morning, how we want to interact with people, conversations we have, the jobs we do. And these worldviews are molded through stories, symbols, habits, questions, patterns that we form that just shape our whole entire existence and life. And the question that we were asked is, does our worldview lead us to either critique and consume or to contend and create with the culture? So does it lead us to critique things, consume things, or to do a better job of contending and creating? And so we kind of laid down that basis of worldview last time and how that shapes how we engage culture. But today, what we're gonna be talking about is storytelling. So we've got worldview, and the next piece is storytelling. And I think all of us in this room, all of us that are watching, we're all storytellers. Some of us are maybe way better at telling stories than others, but regardless of our talent, our gift of speaking, sharing stories, we all live our lives through different narratives, different stories that we believe. The stories that we believe about the world dictate how we engage with culture. So whatever story we are telling ourselves, whatever story we are living out, does control how we navigate, how we interact with the world, with the culture around us, because everyone views the world through a story. So if you think of your favorite movie, your favorite show, your favorite book, anything that captivates you, it usually has this pattern of what is our origin, who is the villain or hero, what is the main conflict we face, and how is this conflict resolved? Those are kind of the pillars, the base is of what makes a good story. There's gotta be a villain, or a hero. There's gotta be some sort of conflict, and that conflict has to be resolved. And there always has to be a good origin story. That's why the MCU is so great at what they do, because they lay all of these things out. They do great origin stories, at least in my opinion. There's always a villain or hero, and there's always this tension or conflict that's getting resolved. And so we can see that not just in fantasy like Marvel and other things we engage in, but in our actual day-to-day lives. Even if we wouldn't word it this way or frame it this way, if we really take a minute to dissect our lives and others, we can kind of see this narrative playing out. And the narrative we're going to talk about today are these two conflicting narratives, the secular salvation story, and then later we'll get into the kingdom story. And so we're going to first start talking about the secular salvation story. And the word secular can have a lot of different baggage or connotations associated with it. In this instance, we're kind of talking about, when we say secular, meaning something that is not pertaining to or connected to religion, to any sort of religious activity, any sort of belief system. Although what we have begun to see in our culture is that this salvation story that I'm about to lay out for you has very much in its own right become a religion and become a practice of sorts that people tend to cling to.